Hello everybody, welcome to the Friday edition of Video Clips, and just a couple things I'll remind you of. Next week on May 12th, I'm doing a free lecture Q&A on Zoom. We have our new course starting on dealing with the anxiety of COVID-19 with our incredible therapist, Kylie Aurora. Careers. If you want past newsletter articles on COVID, you have to become a subscriber, but we have a lot of great opportunities here, many of them free. Take advantage of those things. So Friday, during this whole crisis, I've been talking about real consequences on real people, and I think we should be reminded of this. I wish our health authorities were reminded of it and kept this kind of thing in mind, but I'm just going to share a few things with you. What really makes me angry is that both of my sons have ADHD, and because of this, we very strictly limit the amount of time they spend on electronics. Too much screen time makes all of their symptoms worse, plus makes them easily angered and irritable. Now they're forced to spend 6 hours every day on a computer in order to do their schoolwork, and it's not going very well. Add to that 2 toddlers that haven't been able to play outside because of the crappy weather, and 2 parents that are unable to have any meaningful conversation without being interrupted, all in a 3-bedroom apartment. I'm surprised we're all still sane at this point, but sure, go on ahead and keep everybody locked up for another few months. I think that sentiment is becoming more common. I've heard all the stories about empty hospitals and can share another point of view. I work in a daycare that applied for the pandemic license and is still open. That process is an unregulated joke. There are no restrictions to the amount of pandemic licenses issued in the state. If you apply for the license, you get it. Even though daycare is supposed to be a last resort, the only requirements to bring your kid is a letter from your employer saying you're an essential worker. You don't have to prove you're actually working or prove that the other parent of the child is working and can't care for them. You would think that those kinds of requirements would be required if it was so dangerous. Then there's the attendance, which was a joke as well. The rule is that there can be only 5 kids and 1 teacher to a room, and these kids have to always be in the same room. Under these restrictions, our enrollment is at 100% capacity. All available spaces are filled by essential workers that were preparing for the surge that we were going to get in Ohio, but our actual attendance is about 12 to 15% of capacity because nobody's working. There's no work to do because there are not enough people sick with COVID-19 that require care. Of those kids that are attending, about 30% actually use daycare as a last resort, meaning their kids really don't have to be there. If this virus is so contagious and deadly, why would you not have stricter regulations about all of this? Why is it okay to put the employees in danger for a handful of kids? And, again, the policies that make no sense whatsoever. You can go to Costco, but not to church. You can buy stuff at Home Depot, but you can't, kids can't go to the playground. All right, so here's another one. So I'm one of the angry ones. I'm angry I'm stuck in my house and I'm tired of getting dirty looks for bringing my kids to the store with me. I'm tired of being told I'm selfish for refusing to wear a mask or gloves. I'm tired of being told I'm too stupid to know how to not cough and sneeze on people in public and I need to tie a shirt around my face. I'm angry I can't let my kids play at the park or on playgrounds, but stores have reduced their hours and are now cramming customers into the stores at the same time. I'm angry I can no longer buy hand soap I use at the store because people suddenly discovered they should be washing their hands. I have a reaction to certain ingredients in soaps and I order online and have to wait 2 weeks because everything is so backed up. I'm tired of being lied to and pushed around and told that parts of my life are essential. I'm angry that Americans are suffering and dying because of this perpetuated lie. Thank you for your videos and my opinion. You don't need to hide your anger either. All right. Here's another one. Thank you for your video today. I've been in severe pain, jaw, teeth for over a month. My dentist and me figured it was a newly developed TMJ from situational stress. Also, I might need a new mouth guard. My dentist finally had me go to an endodontist after developing severe inflammation in my mouth. Nope, it turns out I have an infection because I need a tooth removed. Thankfully, the endodontist said root canal would be temporary and not worth it. I probably wouldn't do it anyway. My dentist said that Governor Jay Inslee probably won't let dentists get back to work until mid-June. All I can do is scream. So why is having a tooth pulled considered non-essential? Being in excruciating pain, don't have to do anything about that. Okay, I, like you, am completely fed up with Fauci and the coronavirus craziness. Like the story you're sharing on your videos, this mishandled situation has significantly affected our family. We have 2 teenage sons. One's a sophomore, one's a senior. At the beginning of March, our senior had a part-time job, was successfully completing his senior year in high school, and eagerly looking forward to end-of-year activities like we all did. Now he and the other classes are missing out on these milestone activities and graduation. He isn't working. He's home doing distance learning. He's been working on his Boy Scout Eagle project process for the last year and a half. Thankfully, they did this project at a county park, which had been scheduled months in advance, a week and a half before the shelter-in-place orders were issued here in the middle of March. Our younger son, a sophomore, was in the process of starting his Eagle Scout project, but his project has been postponed indefinitely due to the shelter-in-place order and cancellation of non-essential activities and gatherings here. Future schooling, college and high school, is completely up in the air, and for our sons, based on whether or not schools reopen or continue with online and distance learning. Masks are mandatory where we live, and our county is spending tens of thousands of dollars buying and installing signs throughout our county that say shelter in place enforced, essential travel only. Our parks and public places and non-essential businesses and schools are closed. The National Guard has been here for weeks helping to transition college dorm rooms to hospital overflow and helping out at our local food bank, which is overwhelmed by food needs. There have been 2 deaths in our county of 500,000 people, yet sheltering in place and masks are still mandatory. Horrific. This goes on for a few more paragraphs I won't read to you. All right, I'm worried I wanted to let you know I'm sick with worry that my 91-year-old mom, who is in an assisted living facility in Oakwood, Ohio, might succumb to the quarantine rather than the virus. On December 15th, we lost my father. My parents were married 66 years, so we moved my mom to a pricier facility with the idea of her having more activities and chances to interact with others than the quarantine. None of her 4 kids can visit. She's been hysterical. The facility doesn't like it. They load her up on drugs. I just had a Zoom conference with her and she couldn't communicate. She went to this new facility with little dementia. The loneliness and isolation are killing her. I'm writing to you because I want her voice heard. And here's another one. We're currently in Ecuador visiting my husband's family, indefinitely now due to canceled flights. And in addition to many measures taken, they're spraying quaternary ammonia and maybe other disinfectants on the streets, cars at checkpoints, and even your clothes when you enter stores. I'm as afraid or more of these measures than I am of the virus itself. They also have put restrictive rules in place about leaving the home. We're only allowed out between 5 a.m. and 2 p.m. Children are not allowed almost anywhere. You can only go to stores, etc. on the day that corresponds to the last number on your ID, and cars are only allowed to be used once a week, according to the license plate numbers. I find this only puts me in more contact with people as hours are limited. It makes it very complicated to figure out any type of routine for the family. I thought we'd be okay financially because we'd already planned to have no income for March and half of April, but the restrictions will affect us as well. I thought my husband would be able to receive unemployment when we would have returned, but because he waters indoor plants and plants are perishable, he could be working. So because it's his choice not to, he is ineligible. I love how workers are unable to decide for themselves whether their job is worth their lives, in the sense that they're ineligible for unemployment should they decide to stay home. In a real pandemic, I wouldn't want my husband risking our lives in order to water some plants. I also am not eligible for unemployment as I rent out our basement on Airbnb. This counts as rental income and not self-employment income. I'm not eligible for anything. And then she goes on to say that talking to her family in Ohio has made her even angrier. Apparently my niece's job at Dairy Queen is essential, but my sister-in-law is not. She's a pediatric doctor who works at urgent care, but they've closed the urgent care center, and she's just on call in case they need her someplace else. Why would we close urgent care centers, which would be a perfect place for non-coronavirus emergencies, and instead force everybody to go to hospitals where people with the virus are? Makes no sense to me. And then here's one that will break your heart. I am not mentally stable in the moment, not because of the COVID-19 situation, but because my husband died on April 21st due to taking on a job he normally doesn't do because of this stupid virus. He wasn't on any prescribed meds, but fell off a roof. I wasn't there, so I didn't witness the accident. He ended up at the hospital. When I arrived at the emergency, I was not able to see him. I had to sign all the papers. He was unconscious and drugged, and I was not allowed in. I am going through an extremely difficult time, and I want to abolish those who place the ridiculous pandemic that has distorted my life forever. I'm grieving at the moment due to the idiots in power enforcing the pandemic and scaring the public with utter nonsense. I must get 100 of these a day from people who are talking about family members in the hospital, not able to be with family members until just a few minutes before they die, only one family member there. I mean, there's almost a sadistic part of this. You just wonder, what these people are thinking who enforce these rules. And they have to be getting letters like this also. I don't know, maybe they just don't read them. It's hard to imagine somebody could read them and not care. And it's also hard to imagine that this type of thing is not being addressed at all by any health authority who's inflicting this god-awful damage, this god-awful scourge on society and tearing our country apart. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know how people can do this to other people. So, that's it for the week. I think I can't talk about this anymore right now. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button and pass this on to people who you think would watch it and maybe gain something from it. It's hard to educate people about this because they so much have their mind made up and don't want to be confused with facts. But I think every week we do pick up some more people who see what's going on and are as concerned about it as you and I are. And so let's just hope for better times, and very, very soon, because I think that one of the people I work with described it in a very interesting way. She said, you know that feeling you have like when it's really humid and close outside and it's getting ready to be a thunderstorm and something god-awful is going to happen, like the power is going to go out and trees are going to fall down. She said, I think that's kind of how this feels right now, and it does. And I hope that the cataclysmic thing is something that moves us in the direction of getting better, not the cataclysmic thing being more onerous, god-awful, terrible things happening to people who we all care about. Thank you so much for watching these videos. Thank you so much for the wonderful emails you send to me encouraging me. It's very wonderful to hear from you because this has been a difficult time for me. First of all, because I take a lot of grief for doing this, and second of all, because I'm really torn up about what I see happening. You know, I'm not personally affected, but I love the place I live. I would like to see it restored and back to normal, or survive. I guess my new normal is I just hope that people survive this. Thriving we can worry about later. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. I'll be back to you next Tuesday with more news.